Hello, my name is Chris Caruso, and I'm an RN at Parkland Hospital here in Dallas, Texas. I've been nursing since 2012, and I brought you here today because I want to talk to you about some very important issues, and those issues are safety awareness. As we all know that life is capable of throwing us curveballs. The unexpected happens all the time. Think about it when you're on your job, when you're in a relationship, starting a family, purchasing a home, purchasing a car, or having children. They're all capable of throwing unexpected curveballs. Especially children, they love to make our lives challenging at times. Life could be going peachy, just fine. And you have your perfect job and your spouse you're in love with or your partner, and you're living in a wonderful neighborhood. And then all of a sudden, you and your partner decide to get your HIV test updated because that's what you do every 6 months. And then one of you comes up positive. It was bad enough coming out to your family and friends because you're gay, putting up with prejudice and stereotypes. You risk having face rejection with your friends and your family. And now that you're HIV positive, now it's even worse because now you're afraid that people are going to be afraid to touch you. You wonder if you're going to pass the disease to someone else. You're fearful of the disease and what it's going to do to you, or if you're going to die. How is that death going to be? Is it going to be painful? Is it going to be excruciating? Is it going to be gross? You have that fear of spreading the infection to your loved ones. And if your partner leaves you, you wonder, hey, am I going to ever date again? But eventually you will. You'll build up the courage and the self-confidence because you'll be given the tools to be able to do so safely. And life will go on. But there's still other considerations that people with HIV still have to consider, such as staying healthy. You have to eat an adequate, nutritious diet. You have to take your medications regularly and on time with the expected dosage. You need to begin your HIV medication sooner rather than later because it's very important to have a undetectable, a controlled viral load. Do not consume untreated water, milk, or uncooked meats and eggs, and that's because you're exposed to you're exposed to different things that can ruin your health. Don't get exposed to spores, molds, and fungus. Let somebody else clean out the garage. Let somebody else clean out the kitty box for you, especially if you have an altered immune system. You're more likely to get sick than anyone else, and some of these infections are very dangerous. So as you know, we live in a very unpredictable society, and so staying safe is the most important thing. We live in a world with unpredictable storms, with unpredictable people even. We have people who preach hate, who join terrorist groups, who do hateful things, such as blowing up a World Trade Center or going into a nightclub and shooting up a bunch of innocent people. So we need to take steps to be able to stay safe. We can't stay safe all the time. I mean, life's going to happen whether you want it to or not, but at our homes, or inside our homes, and sometimes at our work, we're capable of controlling the environment a little bit more. So in our homes and where when we're at work, if we can, try and set up an emergency kit. Your emergency kit is good for hurricanes and medical emergencies, tornadoes, and even earthquakes sometimes. You want to keep your it's even good for first aid events too. As far as your emergency kit, you want to have your first aid kit. You want to have your current medications. The literature says to have 3 to 7 days worth, but if you're an HIV patient, you want at least 7 to 14 days worth of your medication, just to make sure that you're not going to run out. Have adequate medical supplies around. If you're changing bandages for some reason for twice a day, make sure you got 10 days worth, or 10 changes, which would be adequate. You want to have your personal care and hygiene items. It's not too hard to have a supply of soap and shampoo and your feminine needs materials if you're a young lady. You want to have your flashlight, your batteries, your radio. You want to make sure those medications and batteries are checked every 6 months for their expiration date. There's nothing worse than being in an emergency and needing those things and they don't work. You want to have your important documents in place. You want to have your insurance papers, your birth certificates, you want to have your passports available, any information you have on your medications. I always tell the ladies to have a list of their medications in their purse. That way, if anything happens, it's called here's a list of my medications. There's no guessing to it. You want to create a safe haven in your home. You want to designate an internal room with limited windows that has a mode of communication and house your safety emergency kit there. You want to also have your first aid kit. Does that sound very familiar? You also want to have an access to water. A lot of people like to use their bathroom for that very reason. You want to have access to fresh water, 1 gallon a day per person. So if you're 2 people and you're doing a 5-day supply, well, that's 10 gallons of water. Have a supply of non-perishable food for 5 days. That could be Vienna sausages, it could be Spam, it can be soups, it can be ramen noodles. You're capable of eating ramen noodles raw. They're not the most best tasting, but it'll get you through a tight spot. Have candles, matches, and a flashlight. Make sure the radio works. When you bring your radio and your flashlight, make sure it's in working condition. And a lot of people keep their bedding in their bathroom anyway. So you want to have a source of bedding and toileting capability. Believe it or not, bathrooms do have toileting capabilities. You want to keep your medications in your first aid kit handy in your emergency kit. Have a change of clothes and a pen and paper. You might want to write something down, depending on why you're using your safety haven. Now let's talk about interpersonal violence prevention. Last year in Oak Lawn, from September 2014 to September of 2015, there was 18 cases of assaults on unsuspecting victims that were walking home from the bars. They weren't doing anything. They were just there minding their own business, and we had 18 people assaulted that way. Serious injuries too. Only 3 of them were ruled as hate crimes. This year there was a gay nightclub in Orlando where a massacre took place. And this was just about 2 months ago. 50 people died and 53 were injured. And earlier this year in Dallas, we had a demonstration. A group was demonstrating against the police, and it was a peaceful demonstration. Nothing was going on, but some people got in their heads that they needed to start shooting the police, which was inappropriate. And unfortunately, we lost a lot of good people. The people they shot were not guilty of doing the things that they said that police were doing. There's only a certain number of police doing those things, and none of those were doing it. Those are some very good people that I knew. Unfortunately, that happened, and I'm really sorry it did. So to handle interpersonal violence, we can't control what goes on all the time, but we can control what goes on in our house. So make sure all your entrances have working locks. The literature says deadbolt locks are the best. You want to make sure that you have your doors are locked, your windows are locked. Report any suspicious activity in your neighborhood. If you see somebody lurking behind the houses, checking doors, call the police and let them check it out. Establish your safety haven and home. Get to know your neighbors. They might help you keep a track on your house if you watch their house. Let them know what's going on. Call the police for them if you need to. If you hear screaming next door, don't ignore it. Call the police. Be aware of suspicious behaviors and trust your instinct. Most of the time, your instinct won't lead you wrong. Do not pick up suspicious packages. If someone leaves a box in front of your door, don't just go about shaking it. Check the address, see if it's to the right person, see where it's from, if it's got too much postage, if it has inadequate postage. You know, if somebody's going to blow up a package anyway, I wouldn't necessarily be concerned about putting the right postage on the box if I'm just going to leave it there. So, there's little things. If there's any doubt, call the police. Let them deal with the bomb squad. If you're being mugged, give them their stuff. Your life is way more worth than anything you could possibly give them. There's people that love you. If you come home to a burglarized home, call the police. Don't just rush in and see what all they took. The perpetrator might still be there, and they might have other plans for you. It's happened in the past. It can happen again. This is the big city of Dallas. Anything's possible. So you want to, let's talk about sheltering in place. Now, this is good if there's a hurricane coming in and it's got tornadoes, if there's a bomb explosion outside, air contamination, from an exploded truck. Anything can happen. You just want to limit your risk of exposure. There could be radiation that's outside. You'll want to risk your exposure to these elements. And to do that, you're going to seal your doors wherever you're at. If you're at work, if you're at school, if you're at home, you want to seal your entrances, seal the doors, seal the windows. Try and have your emergency kit with you if you can. A lot of people's not going to have that at work. So what you want to do is just stay put, turn the lights off, I'm getting ahead of myself. You want to stay put, listen to the radio, and learn from the radio when it's safe to come out. They'll let you know, trust me. If there's an armed intruder that comes into your location, move to a safe location. Notify people you're with that there's something going on. Call the police and let them know the person's location, what they look like, what they're driving. Anything you can report is good. Turn off the lights, close the blinds and the windows, and by all means, don't stand in front of the window. Stay away from the doors and windows. Stay quiet. Stay low. And seek protective cover. Call 911 as soon as you possibly can. Because the more time a person has to wander around, the sooner they can find you. And we definitely don't want that. So in conclusion, life was full of surprises. Things really go as we expect them, but all we can do is deal with the situation as it comes about. If we live in fear all the time, we won't be able to do anything. We'd be paralyzed. So keep your emergency kit, set up your safety haven, and use your common sense and your instinct, and I'll keep you out of most trouble. Have faith in yourself, and have a good day.